Okay, well today's message is entitled, Submit or Swim. Would you agree that it doesn't take unusually perceptive observational skills to notice that a fish in an aquarium is aware of only what's happening in its environment, only responds to those things, or maybe just something drastic on the other side of the glass? Have you ever watched a fish? They don't really pay attention to much. All right. Well, then the question for today is, does that describe you and the way that you live your life? You may not live in an aquarium, I hope, and you're not limited to the number of events that happen like it does in a fish's life. All right, but let me just put this out from my perspective, and then you see if there's anything that's similar in your own life. Recently, I found myself looking back over my life for a long distance. And I discovered, and had to admit to God, that I've spent more of my accumulated life doubting than I have trusting. Along the way, though, I've learned this indisputable truth, that God doesn't break His promises. Over the last 8 years, since we moved here from Southern California, particularly during the last 3, I've become obsessed with being able to live out this plan that God has written for my life, so I can think and function and respond with obedience as my only motivation. Right? I have to hear so that I can obey, so that my life will make some real difference as God is calling the plays out every day of my life. I want to fight the right fights. I want to hold out for the right victories. I want to see the things in my life, the events that are happening, for what they really are. I want to be able to ignore the fluff and the bait, because I want to crush the enemy's efforts with consistency and some extreme spiritual hostility. I don't want to be a fish in the aquarium anymore. Look, I refuse to just keep swimming. Fish in the aquarium, they don't even sleep. They just keep doing what they've always done, completely clueless about the world that's outside the universe of their own little aquarium. Right? Do you think fish have any opinion at all about how Ebola is affecting the world currently? Do you think that they're concerned about the conflict in Hong Kong or even in Ferguson? Do you think fish in the aquarium have formed an opinion about Vladimir Putin and his growing anger and resentment against the United States? All of those, I'm going to say, doubtful. Wouldn't you agree? Fish, they just do what they've discovered they can do within the confines of their environment. And they don't try to do anything else. We don't see fish circling the inside of the tank with picket signs, right? We don't see them testing the integrity of the glass. We certainly don't even see them trying to improve the environment in which they live. Fish are just completely dependent on the one who owns them for food so they don't starve, to clean the tanks so they don't get sick and die, to take care of that plastic hose, the one that's forcing the oxygen into the water, so it doesn't get clogs or kinks. Fish, they just keep swimming because that's what fish do. I think the enemy works really hard to try to convince us that this is the truth about us, our lives, and our purpose. Now some of you are saying, well, I think I'm a little more complicated than a fish in the family's living room aquarium. But are you living any differently in functionality? Have we gotten comfortable in our expectations? Have we become so uselessly dependent on God for the blessings and the protection that He maintains over our lives that all we can do is panic and complain the second that there's a kink in the hose? Have we become so focused on just swimming and receiving that we have forgotten that there's a whole world out there convulsing and conspiring, collaborating and collapsing just beyond what we can see? I'm not suggesting that you get on a plane and you fly to Hong Kong tonight and join the protesters. Not even go out and camp out in front of the Kremlin until Vlad comes out and invites you in for vodka and borscht, right? But the question I'm asking you is this. Have we become so comfortable in the aquarium that we have lost sight of the real fight in the real world just outside of our doors? Have we become desensitized to the presence and forgetful of the vigilance of our enemy? Have we become complacent about their dedication, their focus to our failure, our frustration, and our destruction? Have we just come to see the enemy as the creepy neighbor who won't bother us if we don't bother him? All right, listen, don't be stupid. Have we come to be content with life in the tank, held hostage by the issues of life? Problems with the air conditioning or the plumbing, politics at the office, issues with the kids and their behavior. What about aggression with a coach on a kid's field? Listen, these are the distractions that we have to put up with. Have we become so tunnel vision in the little things of our own tank that we have forgotten what and where the real fight is? Have we become so sucked into the seemingly important but actually ridiculous that we have lost sight of the real fight? The truth that these people with whom we're having these difficulties are burning their allotted days, completely oblivious to the fact that they're on the fast track to an eternity in hell, separated from the one who created them, the one who actually has plans for their life and their happiness. Have we mistakenly committed ourselves to making sure that the path for us to just keep swimming is just uncluttered with the faces of the people that we're actually here and supposed to be influencing? Are we so busy complaining about the dead worms on the driveway that we don't notice the bear who's cornered our neighbor? Has the enemy gotten us so distracted at trying to swat the flies on our own porch, right, that we've lost sight of the fact that there's a real enemy that's holding our other neighbor hostage, an enemy that actually needs to be killed? Religious church has been so successful at lulling us into the numb complacency of just check the box for church, and then hover and fret over the things that we think are ours, that we've lost track of our responsibility to disarm and to defeat the enemy who is trying to take over lives, who's trying to ruin people and set their eternal fate in hell forever. It's so easy to get caught up in the conflicts that call us names and that talk behind our back. The ones that step on our toes and create inconvenience for us. We have to live here. But how we choose to live here is our choice. If we choose to be of the world while in it, then our greatest focus is going to be our pride. And that is going to be the way that our neighbors that attack us and insult us, that's the way they choose to live, and we're going to remain fixated on the wrong objective. Peace and contentment, they're never going to be the byproducts of always being in the good graces of your neighbors and your community, or in your efforts to try to make everyone around you treat you fairly or with respect. It's not going to happen. Those are expectations whose recipe's first ingredient is pride and whose aftertaste is always disappointment. All right, time for an analogy. We haven't had one yet. Suppose a particular country finds itself in the throes of a hostile takeover from a country that's much larger and more powerful than they. And they cry out for the assistance of their allies, right? Well, you are part of the forces sent to aid this country in need. And when you arrive, there's going to be at least two kinds of people that you're going to experience. Those that need you and those that oppose you. Now, based on the scenario, it's either for more than just a day or two, right? This makes you a temporary resident, but it doesn't make you indigenous, does it? So, since you're going to spend some time there, but the duration is not clear, right? No matter how much time you spend there, no matter how ugly the fight, this is not going to be a place that you're ever going to call home, is it? All right, you follow me? Now, your mission in this currently desperate country is to assist in rescuing those being oppressed by the enemy. And you do this by receiving orders from your chain of command. All right, as a soldier, you're expected to follow the orders of those that are in charge of you, and you're always expected to conduct yourself with professionalism and discipline. You must never get distracted by the small issues that will become counterproductive to the purpose for your being there. You understand that? Listen to it again, it's important. You must never become distracted by the smaller issues that can be counterproductive for the whole purpose of your being there. You got that? All right, one more time. It's important. You must never become distracted by the smaller things that can be counterproductive to your overall mission for being there. All right, now why the emphasis? Why have I repeated it 3 times? As the person who's supposed to be the radio operator, all right? The one conveying the messages between the guys fighting on the front and those controlling the bombing runs and in control of where the reinforcements go. It would not be a good idea for you to not be in your place during an assault on the opposition because you were busy building a backup radio in case the ready one was damaged during battle and you missed the whole fight. Without coordination of the resources, this precisely planned attack, which would have been the turning point in the entire conflict, by the way, was a complete disaster because you were spending your skills doing something that was not completing the mission that you were sent there to accomplish. You got distracted by the smaller issues that became counterproductive to the mission that you were sent there to accomplish. Do you see it? Look, it's not like you were hiding or you were goofing off somewhere, but you got distracted by the smaller issues that became counterproductive to the mission that you were sent there to accomplish. And what it did is it produced the same results as if you were hiding. We have to be here. Nobody got to choose or have a say in being here, who we'd be, where we'd come from, who we'd come from, or how long we're going to be here. But we do get to make all of the decisions about how we spend the time before we leave. God designed us and created us with a specific purpose to accomplish, a mission to complete. What's the mission? We are to be part of God's liberating force, to assist obediently in helping Him rescue the rest of His creation from the enemy that opposes, that's trying to attack and destroy lives, that will prevent them from leaving this life and spending an eternity in God's presence. Well, there are plenty that will oppose your presence, and they resent God's plan of rescue. But there are so many who would accept the help if they just have the opportunity to receive it. Now, along with this mission into which God has invited us, there's a set of skills that He's given us. This set of skills that we should use for accomplishing our part in this overall mission. All right, this is what we call our vocation, the jobs that we complete or perform that make us part of the overall mission. Some people, they work in buildings, some work in fields. Some people work in hospitals or drive trucks over the road. Some people build buildings or they bake cakes. No matter what your vocation, it should never be confused with your mission. Every soldier who shows up for the conflict has a job. Some go right to the front to begin the fights, but others, countless others, have different jobs that are just as important and just as essential for winning the war. You understand? There are some that fly the planes. There are some that direct the planes. There are some that maintain the planes. There are others who drive trucks, cook meals, take care of administrative departments, manage supplies. Our purpose, right? The sole reason for our existence is to be and to stay connected in relationship to God through worship so that we can hear His orders for our part of the mission. We carry out those orders by using our skills, right? Contributing to the overall mission. We use our vocation, right? Listen, not everybody goes to the front to fight. Not everybody flies a plane. But everybody must do their job so that everyone else can do theirs. Whether you treat patients in a hospital or you open up accounts in a bank, if you pick strawberries in a field or you pave driveways in suburbia, if you stock shelves at Walmart or you bake cakes in your basement, no matter what your skills, these are what you were created and designed to do to contribute to the overall mission to help God rescue the rest of His creation from the enemy. Okay. We must, well, you know what? Let me just say this. If you don't know what your skills are, what you were created to do, then we can help you with that. All right, that's the third step in a 4-part process here at No Strongholds Ministries called Discovering Your Gifts. See one of the staff after the service and we'll point you in the right direction. All right? Now listen, we've got to be dependable, responsible, Certainly we have to be competent in our jobs, right? But we must never be so focused on our work that we're distracted and we forget the whole reason why we're here. To reach out to others and to tell them they've got a choice to accept God's gift and be free. We should never, ever be the soldier who failed to show up for the battle because he was too busy building a radio, using the skills to build, instead of performing the skills for the accomplishment of the mission. Do you understand the difference? Okay, we've come a long way from where we began in the aquarium, right? But the concept is still the same. If the environment in which we're placed becomes the focus of our existence, then we've lost sight of the reason that we exist. This is to bring glory to the Father as we follow the Son, listening to the Spirit. Showing everyone that we encounter that there is peace, that there is hope, that there is freedom in a relationship with Jesus Christ. If we get caught up and we start worrying so much about the things that we think are ours, all right, using them, being concerned about the readiness of the equipment instead of using it in the battle, or if we dedicate our effort and our energy to perfecting our skills, right? Instead of, if all we ever do is bake cakes or work on cars or sell shoes, instead of using those skills for the overall accomplishment of the mission, then we're no better than the fish that just keep swimming because that's all there is. The enemy, they work really hard and they try to get us to this point where we're ineffective, we're lazy and we're whiny and we're selfish. As we encounter the politics in the office, as we experience the selfishness and the dishonesty among peers, we experience the gossip among the neighbors, or even the aggression on the baseball fields of our kids. These are all distractions that are meant to induce our pride and to shift our focus, to cause us to do something that's counterproductive to the overall purpose. Right? The important point is this: we must never lose sight of the mission. Well, how do you do that? Listen, we've got to move things so that our mission is always between us and the issue. We've got to reorient things. We've got to move in response. We've got to change the whole view so that our mission is always in our sight before that we address the issues. The enemy is always going to bring distractions from directions that if we just respond, suddenly our mission's behind us. Do you see it? We've got to choose not to react, but to reorient so that in responding to the issues, because we have to, our mission is always in front of us as we approach the issue. Does that make sense? We must learn to use our mission as the filter through which we see the events of our lives, the method by which we engage and we deal with them. If we will choose to function with mission-minded intentionality, then there's no way that distractions can cause us to respond apart from the mission. Does that make sense? This is why it's so important to begin every day with worship, in the presence of God, giving away everything. Because any day that we start having nothing more important than hearing and responding, there is no chance that we can be distracted or induced to focus on a distraction that comes from any direction. You understand? The enemy's mission, their objective, is to get us to take our eyes off the real mission. That is, bringing glory to the Father as we follow the Son, listening to the Spirit, showing everyone that there is peace and hope and freedom in a relationship with Christ. But the enemy, they succeed when they get us to go and nurse a bruised pride. Or we respond indignantly to that false accusation, or we end up in a physical altercation with some stupid comment at a ball game. Do you see this? We have a responsibility to protect those who are ours. But anything short of a physical need to protect that which is entrusted to us, listen, we better make sure that we understand it and identify it for what it really is and what the real cost is going to be if we take the bait and we respond in some way that's counterproductive to God's mission and God's honor. You ever heard that phrase, take one for the team? Right? The same way that we'll spend time fielding ground balls or we'll spar with somebody that's faster than us. We'll hit the blocking sleds to prepare so that we can do the best we can in sports. All right, listen. Absorbing hits on our pride is the only way we're ever going to get better at responding correctly to the enemy. They want us to focus all of our time and our effort, our energy, our emotion, our skills in all the wrong places. They want us to destroy our own credibility with bad choices, with bad responses, so God is not given the glory. Do you think that you can be effectively equipped and prepared to counteract that kind of nonsense without spending time in God's presence? Without acknowledging and submitting to His authority? Without receiving His blessing and His strength to deal and to live in such a hostile environment? Are you tired of living in the fish aquarium? Are you ready? Are you ready to think and function and respond with obedience as your highest motivation? Will you choose to fight the right battles? Are you ready to choose to hold out for the right victories? Do you want to see the issues, the events in your life for what they really are? Are you willing to ignore the fluff and the bait so that you can crush the enemy's efforts with consistency and extreme spiritual hostility? Are you ready to use the skills that God has given you for the accomplishment of the overall mission? Well, I hope so, because the only alternative is to just keep swimming. Holy Father, we exalt your name. You are sovereign. You are so awesome to us. We thank you for your truth. We thank you for the way you open our eyes to the things around us. We thank you for the tools that you've given us. We ask that you'd allow us to take a good, solid, subjective look at our lives this week. The skills that you've given us, the jobs we perform, the mission that you've entrusted to us, and how it all fits together. Are we doing this right? I ask that you would help us to really understand the difference in all these pieces and to take a step back and look at this and go, okay, what changes do I need to make in order to make your mission my highest priority and utilizing the skills and the opportunities you've given me to do that? God, we thank you for how much you take such great care of us. We ask you to bless us and to continue to protect us as we live in obedience to you. We pray in the name of Jesus so that you are glorified.